What's a good word, everyone? It's your boy DKB here. I just want to say thanks for all the support. The channel's been steadily growing, and the number you see below, you can drop a text, shoot a voicemail, any ideas, topics, collabs, etc. you guys want to see. I'll include them in future videos and live streams, and I'll catch you again. Be easy. What's a good word, Jets fans? It's your boy DKB here. So we're coming off of the recent report we talked about where the New York Jets actually offer an attractive option to head coaches and general managers, right? Long-term contracts to both positions in order to provide that stability, provide that peace of mind for them to actually build their vision. Now we're getting a different side of the coin that's also excellent news for the New York Jets from Mike Garafolo. So he specifically mentions the Jets have used his latest round of criticism of Woody Johnson as a rallying cry inside the building to restore pride this offseason. With significant interest in their GM and coaching jobs, they're confident they'll do so. One of the things that he points out, not within this statement I read, but that goes on from a larger conversation here, is that Woody Johnson specifically is not an obstacle in guys being intrigued and interested in actually pursuing becoming the next head coach, the next general manager for the New York Jets, which is major, right? I think a lot of the feelings from the fandom perspective, right? Whether you're a New York Jets fan, whether you're a fan of one of the other 31 NFL teams, or whether you're, troller, hater, etc. Objectively looking at the New York Jets, it's a circus show. There's all manner of things going wrong on the football field, ridiculous things going wrong off the football field. And so you can't really imagine somebody saying, I have 5 openings, the New York Jets is on the top of my list, right? With that said, it seems like there's intrigue growing, right? And I think the difference more so is that from the fandom perspective, we've been so entrenched in misery, so entrenched in this losing gene, if you will, as we've seen players start to call out, that we honestly don't know the inner workings of the NFL right now. I still think it rings true that the New York Jets may not be a prime candidate destination, but in the same token, if you're looking at it and you say, okay, well, the New York Jets do have a competitive roster with players that I like, check. They are willing to offer me, 4+ years in order to try to build this thing out. It's up to me to try to strain out some early success. Check. And then, of course, I'm being paired on the same timeline with the general manager or a head coach, depending on who gets hired first. Check. Right? Everything else, I think, is definitely in the hands. Is within reason for the head coach and or general manager to assume some of those responsibilities. So when I look at this, I say we're going from a scenario where I think many of us assumed you have Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, Mike Vrabel, and I'm not saying in any particular order here, but your Cliff Kingsbury's, insert any other coaches that you like, right? Your Liam Cohen's and all these other names that are coming up. Same thing with the general managers, right? Your Ray Agnew's, your Borgonzi's, your Louis Riddick's, if you're, fans of that particular individual, etc. It went from feeling like the New York Jets may put in a request and we'll get an immediate rejection and a laugh in our face to these guys are actually willing to come in. They're going to hear us out. And now from my perspective, this is the best thing the New York Jets can ask for, right? They're willing to come in. It's up to the Jets to sell them on essentially what one of Ben Johnson's asks were, right? Look, I know obviously a lot of our dirty laundry is in the streets. Here's what we understand where we went wrong. Here's where we understand how things could have been resolved better, right? In situations where you just can't avoid some of those outcomes. Here are situations where we realize we put ourselves in these predicaments. Here's how we expect for that not to occur anymore. And then you start tying in the general manager and the head coach as well. Here's the things we know we can address and fix in the right now. Here's where you sell us your vision, your dream, what you think about the roster, current situations like the Garrett Wilson trade, etc. Here's how we feel like we can marry both of these situations, both of these two sides trying to address root causes for the New York Jets and have some early success, have some, early chemistry, and hopefully fall into some wins early and often, right? I can't ask for anything more. I've been dreading kind of going into the offseason, it's a mixed feeling, right? I've been very excited because we have all this new news. I get to check out all these new candidates. I get to learn and dive into a lot more things. But in that same token, I'm dreading it, right? Am I going to hear that Ben Johnson doesn't want to come to the New York Jets whatsoever for an interview, anything? Don't want to hear that after hearing, potential hype about Aaron Glenn. Would he reject us, right? You start looking at the quality of the guys. You start to say, all right, well, this is never going to work out now, because if we couldn't get Superman, who cares if we get Batman? Nobody else is going to be able to figure this thing out, right? So it feels like a lot of us are locked into one particular person or another. So just knowing that we have this idea that we can put a list together, we are going to have quality guys on that list, and we are going to have an opportunity to really try to attract them and bring them in. Hopefully this time it doesn't take a sandwich or something like that to get the job done. But needless to say, I think the Jets will pull out all the stops. You pair that with Rich Cimini's report about, I guess, the three primary targets here being Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, and Mike Vrabel. I'm curious to see how this pans out, right? Because this is a pretty recent comment from Rich Cimini from his Flight podcast. But I did see a recent report from Jets Central that he spoke about as well that mentioned the New York Jets really prefer candidates that have the previous head coach experience. Mike Vrabel is, I would say, realistically the name that's been floated around the most. We're also getting the most feedback from his particular camp, since he's not tied to any teams right now outside of consulting for the Browns, right, where he's interested. He's really willing to come and figure things out for himself and see if it's a good fit or not. And even there's some of the GM questions are answered, right, about him willing to take the job as long as he feels like he shares the same vision as the GM. So ultimately, let me know what you guys think. I think even with the losses in the season coming, even with the continuous reports coming out from The Athletic that end up being disputed pretty quickly by a number of other insiders to various degrees, it feels like the needle is kind of trending up, right? This is just one of those weird situations where the visionaries of the NFL world understand what they can do with the New York Jets and what we currently have in terms of roster, in terms of what they can add when they build out their coaching staff, when they build out their front office personnel. And it's just one of those situations that from a fan perspective, we don't always know what's going on to the full degree to make some of these best educated guesses, right? So let me know what you guys think about this whole situation. Again, I think the greatest news walking away from this, though, is that these candidates are at least willing to step through that door. And hopefully we can get this deal sealed for whoever we ideally envision as being that top guy for us. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you again. Peace.